welcome back to a special episode of the Home-Centered Life podcast. I had a moment where I was forgetting what the name of this podcast was. Today I'm super excited because we are going to be introducing a new format of our podcast. I'm just going to call them little mini-sodes right now. So for those of you that listen regularly and love our episodes, we're just so glad that you're on this journey with us. And I had this kind of epitome today, or epiphany. Can you tell it's late at night? That sometimes even our 30-ish minute episodes are too long because if you're a busy mom or you're a working parent, life is just full and it's good and beautiful, but it's full. And so I had this realization that sometimes all we need is just a few minutes of encouragement, a pickup, a pick me up, just something to say, hey, I see you. And so this is going to be our first mini-sode. We'll put these out semi-regularly when we have some sort of inspiration. And today I'm going to share with you specifically something from actually my own story in these last few months. And this is specifically speaking to those of you moms out there that feel alone. So I felt really inspired to share this because even though I have beautiful, wonderful people in my life, these last few months I've been feeling really lonely in motherhood. And I think that that is actually a really common shared experience, especially when you are a homemaker and you're trying to live a home-centered life. You're not necessarily seeing people every day like you would if your kids are older and you're taking them to school or you're taking them to a bunch of activities. And lately, it's been just hitting me kind of hard, that feeling of feeling alone in motherhood. And yet I know deep down that I'm not. I know that I'm not. And it's this both and. So I'm feeling this feeling alone, feeling really vulnerable in my loneliness. And I just felt like I was being asked to share this because I bet you anything there are other women like you mom right now listening. You might be one of those women right now that is just feeling really lonely in motherhood, and I just want you to know that I see you. And I think the first thing to recognize is that that is a totally normal experience, and so it can feel like I'm lonely and I'm the only one that feels that way, and yet I feel like that's actually not at all true. And when I've been vulnerable enough to share with some women in my life, they have said, yeah, like motherhood can be really lonely. And to just acknowledge that is kind of, I think, the first step. Again, it's recognizing, hey, I'm not the only one, but then also acknowledging that that is a part of motherhood, or it can be. There are seasons where, like, especially with little kids, my kiddos are just a little over 2 years old and soon to be 7 months old. And that's a very intensive motherhood stage. I feel like when they're really little and you're watching them constantly to make sure they're okay and not putting things in their mouth or crawling away or running away or whatever it is. And it can be really draining. It's the most beautiful thing and the most beautiful time, but it also takes a lot of energy. So what I'm finding in my own experience is I want to like be around other moms, but I'm also like so tired to make the effort. And I was sharing with Michael just the other day that like I think every kind of stage of life as we get further up and in and get older, it's that much harder to make friends. And, like you go to high school and it's so much harder than it was in elementary school. And you go to college and it's harder. And then you get married and it's that much harder. And then you have kids and it's just like 10 layers harder because your life is just so intensive and full. And so my prayer and my hope in sharing this first is again to acknowledge that you may be feeling this way. And I want to say that I see you and I wish I could just give you a big hug and tell you that it's going to be okay. And I do believe that, in the experience I'm having and the one you're having too, that like there's hope. And I think the next step then in the process is kind of intentionally figuring out and finding ways to make connections with other women that are doing life in a similar way. And I think one of the biggest ways we can do that, honestly, is through prayer. I was reading Emma's for Mama a few weeks ago, and she was sharing how she now has this beautiful motherhood, like, group of moms that are just wonderful, and they pray together and do life together and encourage each other. But she said it took years to do that. And it's really easy to look at someone else and say, like, man, you've always had that, or it's always been easy for you. And yet I don't think that that's actually true. And so the prayer for me and my life and my prayer for you is that we would begin asking God for this community of women in our lives that can do life with us, that can encourage us, that can support us, that can challenge us, that can uplift us in our motherhood. And I think, wherever you are at in your journey spiritually, but also in your motherhood journey, like, we need to know that we're not alone, and we need to know that there are other women out there that are on our team. And yes, social media can be a great avenue for that. And hopefully this is a great place to come and feel seen and known and heard. But also, like, having women around you, physically around you in your community and in your neighborhoods, is so important. And I think that's the thing that I've been missing in this season is I have amazing friendships, and yet I have very few friends locally, because of our move. And so that is my prayer. And I hope that you can also pray with me for your own life, and we'll pray together and ask God for these kinds of friendships. And then I think the next step is to be patient. And that's like probably the hardest part for me because I want it right now and I want it yesterday. And so believing that that is possible, and also holding that desire with patience, is going to be the hard part of the journey for me. And yet I'm already seeing like cool little connections that God is opening doors for. One fun example is we just finished processing our first round of meat chickens. And so, I've been trying to find people that would want to buy a few chickens, and just have found some really fun connections through that. I met a woman today who is a retired professor, and has a house in Ireland and lives nearby on 30 acres. And she's an older woman, but I'm already like, oh, maybe we could connect. And I found another woman who lives just up the road, and I never knew she existed, and she's coming over to buy some chicken feet tomorrow for her bone broth. And so I feel like God is already showing me little ways that he's providing and answering that prayer. And so my heart for you, friend, is to know that, again, you are not alone on this journey. And even if in this season you only have me as your encouragement voice, like, just know that you're not alone, and that your heart for community is good and real and beautiful. And I believe that that prayer will be answered. And so, yeah, I just really felt like this needed to be the thing I said today on this first little mini-sode. I'm going to call it that. I don't know how you spell Mini-sode, but I'm going to figure it out. And yeah, so my heart again is just is to help you to know, and to help you feel seen, to help you to know you're more than enough on this motherhood journey, and also for you to know that you're not alone in it. And so let's journey together and just be on this path that, being the moms that we were created to be for our families and for our communities and for our children. But we need to surround each other and encourage each other. And so that's what I'm here for. So I hope that today this was encouraging for you, this short little episode. if it's in the middle of the day for you and you're folding laundry, or it's the end of the day for you and you're getting ready for bed. I hope that this was encouraging and you feel like, okay, I can do this. So let's journey together, friends. And I hope that, again, you know how loved you are, and that you are doing such a great job. Thank you so much for joining us on this little mini-sode of the Home Centered Life podcast. As always, we are so grateful every time you listen, and we would love it if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's a great zero-cost way to support this podcast and support our vision and mission for this life that we're trying to live. And if you love this podcast, we'd also love it if you'd leave us a 5-star review. I know that's asking a lot, but if you're still listening, hopefully you like us enough to do that. It helps other people to find this podcast, and to get the awareness out there. So, friend, thank you so much for joining us as we seek to live a more home-centered life.